Nan Madol, the city built on a coral reef, is the single most impossible feat of ancient engineering nobody ever taught you about. 92 artificial islands, laid across open water, on the reef of a tiny Pacific speck called Pohnpei. It sits in Micronesia, thousands of miles from anywhere you could name. Tonight we walk out to it slowly, while the tide is low and the light is going gold. The channels are calm, the air is warm and heavy. Somewhere out on the reef, a wall of black stone rises straight from the sea. Take your time, there is no hurry here. Let the sound of the water lead you in. The waves are already talking to the stone, the way they have for 800 years. And they have kept a secret the whole time. No engine, no crane, no written plan has ever accounted for it. That is the door we are stepping through tonight. Now look closer at what those walls are made of. Not carved blocks, not bricks. Long six-sided columns of black basalt stacked like firewood, log over log. Run your eye along one, it's straight, angular, almost too perfect. Some of these columns weigh 5 tons, some weigh 50. That's heavier than a loaded truck, resting 50 feet up in the air. And here is the doorway we came through tonight, worn smooth at the threshold. Nobody has ever fully explained how these stones got here. Not the archaeologists who have measured every wall. Not the engineers who have run the numbers. Only the islanders kept an answer of their own. And it is far stranger than the ruins themselves. Hold on to that, we'll come back to it. The islanders' answer explains everything the science cannot, and it involves no machines at all. Count the layers as you pass. Dozens of columns stacked higher than a house, with nothing but their own weight holding them fast. No mortar seals these joints. Gravity alone has kept them locked for centuries. Let the world fade in around you. It's evening in the Reef City. The air is thick with salt and wet stone and the green smell of mangrove. Somewhere close, water laps against a canal wall, patient and slow. A cooking fire has just gone out on one of the islets. You can still smell the smoke drifting low over the water. 92 islands, all of them man-made, all linked by narrow channels. The whole complex stretches about a mile along the shore. That's why they call it the Venice of the Pacific. Canals for streets, stone for foundations, sea for mortar. Stand at the edge of one channel and look down its length. It runs dead straight into the dark until the mangroves swallow it. The walls glow faintly, the last warm light held in wet black stone. You could believe the city was still lived in. Each islet had its own purpose. Some held homes, some held the dead. Some were kept for priests alone. A whole society sorted island by island across the water. Stand still and let the scale of it settle over you. The channels fill and empty with the tide. Twice a day the sea walks in through these lanes, then quietly walks out again. That rhythm ran this city. Canoes once slid along here in the dark, torches held low over the water. Fresh fish came in this way. Fresh water came down from the mountain. Everything moved by boat along these same stone corridors. Tonight there's only the current, turning slow between the walls. A leaf spins past on the surface. Rest your eyes on the ripples if you like. There's nothing you need to do here, but listen. The city keeps breathing, in and out with the moon, whether we watch it or not. It has kept that rhythm without us for a very long time. Feel how the whole place moves to a clock older than any king who ruled here. Low tide bears the coral and the mud between the walls. High tide turns the lanes back into roads. The builders read that clock perfectly, and they built their entire world around it. So who built this? The evidence points to the Sodalur, the first dynasty ever to rule all of Pohnpei as one. Radiocarbon dates from the site suggest the Great Stone Building began around 1180 AD. Sit with that number for a moment. That's older than most of Europe's cathedrals. It's centuries before Machu Picchu, and it happened here, on an island barely 13 miles across, ringed by jungle, wrapped in swamp. A steep green mountain at its heart, catching the clouds. This was not a rich empire with vast armies of labor. It was a small island people, and they chose to raise their capital not on solid ground, but out in the shallow sea, on a reef. Nobody has ever fully explained why, either. They shaped a home on the reef, out of the sea's own bones, and made it a throne. To feed the workers, food had to come from the whole island, canoe by canoe. A capital on the reef could grow nothing of its own. Every meal, every drop of fresh water arrived from somewhere else. It is a choice that still puzzles everyone who studies it. And the basalt itself is a marvel before anyone lifts a finger. Here is how it forms. When thick lava cools slowly, it contracts and cracks. It splits into long columns, many-sided, almost geometric. You've seen it if you've ever seen the Giant's Causeway. The earth had already cut its own beams, so the builders didn't have to quarry rough rock and shape it by hand. They found stone that came pre-formed, straight, stackable, ready. Nature did the first half of the work for them. All that remained was the impossible half, because a perfect column is still worthless until you can move it. And these columns had to travel. Somewhere across the water, a whole hillside of these ready-made pillars was waiting to be carried down to the shore. These columns litter parts of Pohnpei's coast naturally, snapped into lengths by the cooling of ancient lava flows. The builders knew exactly where to look for them. Finding the stone was never the hard part. The quarries lie far across the island, miles from the reef, up in the volcanic hills. And here is the true weight of it. The largest of these basalt logs is thought to weigh around 50 tons. 50 tons, dragged over jungle, across mud flats, then out onto a coral reef. By a people with no wheels, no metal tools, no horses, no oxen, nothing to pull the load. Just water, wood, rope, and however many hands a small island could spare. Think about that gap, the effort required, against the size of the population that pulled it off. Nothing in the record fully closes that gap. That is the mystery that has never gone away. And it only deepens the further in we walk. The bigger the stones you notice, the harder the question presses on you. And these are among the biggest. Some estimates put the island's population back then at only a few tens of thousands. A small people moving stones that would trouble a modern crane. The numbers simply do not add up, and they never quite have. Walk in through the main sea gate now. This is Nan Madol, the royal heart of the whole complex. The walls climb around you as you enter. Some stand as high as 58 feet. Some are 17 feet thick, solid stacked stone. Inside these walls lies the tomb of the rulers, a stone vault within a stone fortress. Stand small beneath it for a moment. The basalt still holds the last of the day's heat, radiating gently in the cooling air. Reach the flat of your palm near it, and you can almost feel it. Above you, the first stars are catching in the narrow gaps between the columns. It is completely quiet, just your own breath and the distant hush of the reef. This was the place where kings were buried and where power sat closest to the gods. The thickness of these walls is hard to grasp until you stand between them. They swallow sound. They swallow the wind. Inside, the reef feels a world away. How they actually raised these walls, historians still debate. There is no single agreed answer. One idea is simple leverage, ramps built of palm logs and levers inching each column up one length at a time. Another idea is the sea itself. Float each stone in on a raft at high tide, guide it into place, then let the falling water lower it down gently, letting the ocean do the lifting. We know they had the tide and the moon on their side. We know they were patient beyond anything we're used to. What we don't have is proof of the exact method. No plans, no account. That honest gap in our knowledge is exactly where the old island story steps in. It is one thing to move a stone. It is another to lift it 50 feet and set it clean. Both ideas ask for the same thing above all else: time, patience, and hundreds of hands pulling together on the rope. We are left admiring the result and guessing at the road that led to it. The islanders themselves tell it this way. Two brothers came from across the sea in a great canoe. Sorcerers, twins, named Olisihpa and Olosohpa. They came seeking a place to build an altar to honor Nanison Sapiu, the god of agriculture. They tried several spots along the coast and failed before the reef finally held their work. And in the legend, the brothers never carried the stones at all. They chanted, they worked their magic. And a flying dragon lifted the giant columns through the air, one by one, setting each stone gently into place. That is the answer the island kept. Not because they couldn't build, but because the building felt like something more than human hands alone. The story has passed from voice to voice for centuries, guarding the memory the archaeologists still chase. In the legend, when the work was done, the brothers had a home no army could easily take, ringed by water on every side. When the elder brother died of old age, the younger became the first Söderlör ruler. 16 kings followed him, 12 generations of a single great clan living out here on the water. The story remembers the early rulers as kind and fair, but the later ones grew heavy-handed. They demanded more, and then more again, from the people who farmed and fished to feed them. You can feel the evening starting to fall over the dynasty now. The sentences of the story grow slower, the demands grow heavier. Even a stone city built to last forever has its long, quiet dusk. And this one was coming. The weight the people carried was no longer only made of stone. As the demands grew, so did the resentment of the people out on the reef and back on the main island. A capital that grows nothing cannot afford to be hated. Then a warrior named Isokalekal arrived from another island, and the Söderlör reign came to its end. He took the city. For a time, he even lived in Nan Madol himself, ruling from the same stone islands. But it could not last out here on the reef. His heirs slowly let the sea city go. One by one, the islets emptied. The cooking fires stopped. The canoes stopped coming. The canals kept filling and draining for nobody at all. The tide still came in, faithful as ever, but the torches were never lit again. The mangroves crept closer, year by year, and the mile of stone streets fell silent. What had taken generations to raise was left to the mangroves and the moon in a matter of years. For a long time after, Pohnpeians would not go near the ruins after dark, believing the old power still lingered in the stones. And that is where it still stands tonight, under the same moon. 50-ton columns of black basalt, resting exactly where they were set, 800 years on. Waves against the walls, water in the channels, stars in the gaps between the stones. Here is the real wonder, and it isn't the dragon. It's this. Ordinary people on one small green island moved mountains out into the sea and never wrote down how they did it. The legend and the ruins agree on only one thing. It should not have been possible. And yet you can walk it. You can let your eyes close here if you like. The city will keep exactly as it is. That is the line worth carrying home from the reef tonight. No writing survives from the people who built it. Only the stones and the story passed down by mouth. Together, they are all we have. 8 centuries of tide, and the walls have barely moved. The reef holds its impossible city. The waves keep talking to the stone. And somewhere in that patient sound, the answer is still waiting, unhurried as the tide. Rest now. The stone will still be standing when you open your eyes. The reef will keep its watch.